Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting of Council. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we live, work, and gather on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin people, specifically the Temiskaming First Nation. We recognize the presence of the Temiskaming First Nation in our community since time immemorial and honor their long history of welcoming many nations to this beautiful territory and uphold and uplift their voice and values. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Good evening, Your Worship. All members of Council are present. I'll just note that Councillor Nadia Pelletier-Living is joining virtually this evening.
Thank you. Brings us to item 4, review of revisions or deletions to the agenda. And I do have the clerk received an item that was deemed to be time sensitive for Council's consideration. And I do have a resolution in front of me, whereas Section 39(6)B of the procedural bylaw number 2023-022 states, should an item deemed to be time sensitive need to be added to the agenda without advance public notice, such as during the review of revisions or deletions to the agenda, Council shall vote to allow such items to be added to the agenda and shall require a majority vote of the members present and voting. Be it resolved that Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores, in accordance with Section 39(6)B of the City's procedural bylaw, hereby allows the addition of Section 18, closed session, Item C, titled under Section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act 2001, a personal matter, and that's an HR update to be added to the agenda. Is there any others? So a mover, Councillor Whelan. Discussion, is there any other additions? Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Brings us to approval of the agenda. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that City Council approves the agenda as amended. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Dawson, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Nadia Pelletier-Living declared a conflict of pecuniary interest related to Section 7, public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act, Item A, zoning bylaw amendment application number ZBA 2025-01, as the subject property is her immediate neighbor.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other? Okay, seeing none. Takes us to Item 7. Public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act, Municipal Act, and other statutes. Brings us to 7A, zoning bylaw amendment, application number ZBA 2025-01. And as it was just identified, Councillor Pelletier-Living disclosed a pecuniary interest related to zoning bylaw amendment, application number ZBA 2025-01, therefore will not participate in the discussion. The applicant is 1958088 Ontario Limited, and that's Jocelyn Blais. The property is 620 Lakeshore Road in Hillbury, and the purpose is to rezone the subject land from tourist commercial C4 to medium density residential R3. The public meeting is for 1, zoning bylaw amendment application. The Planning Act requires that a public meeting be held before Council decides whether to pass a bylaw adopting a proposed amendment. The public meeting serves 2 purposes. First, to present to Council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendment, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made by Council. I now declare the meeting to be open and to be a public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. The zoning bylaw amendment application to be heard this evening is application number ZBA 2025-01. The applicant, 1958088 Ontario Limited, Jocelyn Blais. The property, 620 Lakeshore Road, Hillbury. And as I mentioned earlier, to rezone the subject land from tourist commercial C4 to medium density residential R3. Shelley, will you present the application?
Thank you. So as Mayor LaFerrier stated, this is for the property located at 620 Lakeshore, so also known as President's Suites. The applicant who is here today is looking to rezone the property from tourist commercial C4 to medium density residential, so R3. Location of the property is located on the west side of Lakeshore Road and the south side of Florence Street in Hellebury. So just a picture of the property. We all know what location we're looking at here. So the property currently has 3 separate units within the building. One unit is the owner's residence, and the other 2 are used for short-term and long-term rental accommodations. Within the city's official plan, the property is designated residential neighborhood, and permitted land uses include a mix of low, medium, and high-density housing. Currently, the property is zoned, as I said, tourist commercial C4, which does allow for a tourist establishment, the definition there on the screen. The property was zoned this way when the city's bylaw was first established in 2017, and it was operating as a tourist commercial establishment at that time. The applicant is looking to rezone it to R3, which does permit up to 4 units, so this property would still fit within that definition. And short-term accommodation rentals will be continued to be licensed through the city's short-term accommodation bylaw. So this meeting tonight was advertised in the Temiskaming Speaker on February 26th. The application was circulated to all city staff with no concerns or objections. No comments or concerns have been received from external agencies or members of the public. And the next steps, so at the next council meeting, you'll see an admin report, a planning report, and a draft bylaw that will be presented to council. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Appreciate that. Are there any questions or comments from the applicant? Jocelyn, do you have any?
People might be wondering why the rezone. It's because I'm in the process of selling the property, and if it's zoned as commercial, it's just too hard to get a mortgage. Like it's almost impossible for people to get a mortgage. So if it's zoned as R3, then they can get a residential mortgage. It's a residential building on a commercial property, so the banks they get confused with that. So if it's zoned R3, then they will be able to get a mortgage, and their intent is to continue exactly like I'm doing now for the last 20 years. It's a local couple, so I think it should be a nice fit. But that's why the request for the zoning.
Okay, thanks, Jocelyn. Did everybody hear that okay? Yeah? Okay, I'll ask Shelley to read any written comments that have been received. There were none? Okay. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? If so, please approach the podium, give your name so that it can be recorded in the minutes. Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from council? No. If there are no further comments, I declare this portion of the public meeting to be closed and advise that council will give due consideration to all comments received. An administrative report will be considered by council at the April 1st, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. Thank you. Takes us to item B, the potential disposition of land. The applicant is Gillies Custom Container Limited. The property is a portion of Blackwall Street and a portion of Russell Street. It's an unopened road allowances as identified on Plan M73NB within the Haileybury Industrial Park. The purpose is the applicant is seeking to purchase the subject lands to facilitate the continued use and development of the outdoor storage business. So the purpose of this meeting is to present to council and to the public details related to the proposed disposition of land, being a portion of Blackwall Street and the portion of Russell Street. The meeting also allows the public to provide comments on the proposed disposition prior to council making a decision. I now declare this to be an open public meeting and request the clerk, Logan Belanger, to outline the details of the proposed disposition. Logan?
Thank you, Mayor. So as noted, we have received an application for a portion of Blackwall and portion of Russell, which are unopened road allowances, which are identified on the plan of subdivision within the Hillbury Industrial Park. The applicant is currently in the process of purchasing the land adjacent to the subject properties on Niven Street South for the purpose of the continued use or development of their outdoor storage business. This image identifies the location of the subject lands, which are fronting on Niven Street South. You'll notice that the road allowances do extend beyond the current property boundary of JPL. However, the applicant is in discussion with the economic development officer to acquire a portion of the industrial lot to the east of the subject lands to ensure alignment. Both land transactions are expected to occur at the same time. This is a visual of the plan of subdivision, M73M3, and just outlines the portions on that plan. In accordance with the Disposition of Land Bylaw 2015-160, the Section 3 disposal method, if approved by council, a direct disposition to the applicant is recommended. For Section 4, determination of value, since this is unserviced industrial land, the recommended value is $10,000 per acre plus all associated costs, which are legal fees, registration fees, survey costs, etc. The area of road allowance is estimated to be about half an acre. The actual area for the calculation would be based on the surveyed area. Section 6, public meeting notice. It was circulated through the city bulletin and the Temiskaming speaker, as well as on our website, and notice was also mailed to the neighboring property owners. A reference plan would be required for a legal description of the subject road allowances, as well as adopting a stop-up and close bylaw. The subject property is designated mixed use within the city's official plan and general industrial, or M1, in the city's zoning bylaw. Just to note that a self-storage facility is a permitted use within the subject area. The application was circulated to staff, and there's no concerns and are supportive of the request. There's been no public comments received to date on the application. No comments were received from the utility companies being Enbridge, Bell, Eastlink, and Telebec. We did receive a comment from Hydro Run that they would be impacted by the proposed sale due to infrastructure along the northern limit of Blackwall Street road allowance. As such, they were recommending a 5-meter easement from the center line of their infrastructure prior to the closing of the sale. The easement agreement with Hydro would not permit any encumbrances on the land, which would no longer be useful for the purpose of storage facilities and shipping containers. As such, the applicant was consulted, and staff recommend the city retain the portion of road allowance with the Hydro infrastructure. I did speak with Hydro, and Hydro is agreeable to this option and is satisfied that access will not be a concern going forward if the city retained ownership. If that's the case, then no easements would be required at this time. Next steps, conditional on public input and if approved by council, order a survey to legally describe each section of the subject road allowance. Note would be not including the 5-meter strip south of the Hydro poles on Blackwall Street road allowance. And then upon receipt of the registered reference plan or the survey, there would be a public notice for the adoption of a stop-up and closure bylaw for each section of road allowance, an administrative report recommending the purchase and sale agreements, the adoption of a purchase and sale agreement bylaw for each section of road allowance, as well as the adoption of a deeming bylaw to merge the properties on title. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan. Is there any members of the public wanting to speak to this request? Please approach the podium and state your name for the public record. Seeing none, is there any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, so those are unopened portions of Blackwell. They've never been open? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and so the JPL property, they are in Gillies is in discussion with JPL for purchase, and then the 4 lots just east of that, is that the piece that is part of the industrial park, and we are in negotiations on that? I didn't quite get that clear. So there's a piece of the property east?
James?
So, yes, we're trying to clean up, they're purchasing that. Arrow is pointed at the moment, but the existing user, JPL Storage, has their units already covering portions of Area 1, portions of Area 2, and a section behind the parcel owned by JPL Storage. So we're trying to clean up the issue so that they own the land they're using, the new owner, and they're willing to buy the land at what we would sell land in sort of like Raven Crescent, another unserviced land. We've been charging $10,000 an acre. So that's the discussions we're having. If you pay for the survey of what you're going to buy, and whatever that number is in acres, we'll multiply by 10,000 per acre, and it will clean up. They're using that section, and we just want to make sure they're sharing this section. Yes, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ducharme?
Where exactly is the road allowance going to be on number 1 or number 2?
So those are 2 road allowances. There is no road there. It's just bush.
Sorry, where is the hydro
Hydro is on section
allowance?
1.
Okay,
It would be at the north line of that.
Okay.
So we're only going to sell them half of section 1.
okay. Thank you.
Because Hydro would like to keep the other half of the road allowance because their wires go across it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Seeing none, I now declare that this public meeting is closed and council will give due consideration to the application. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that council of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby acknowledges the presentation regarding the potential disposition of land from the municipal clerk, and that council directs staff to proceed with the survey for a portion of Blackwall Street and a portion of Russell Street as identified on Plan M73-NB within the Halebury Industrial Park, and to prepare an administrative report related to the potential disposition of land for consideration at a future council meeting. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Graydon, seconded by Councillor Ducharme. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Takes us to item 8, review and adoption of the council minutes. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that City Council approves the following minutes as printed. A, the regular council meeting held on February the 18th, 2025, and B, the committee of the whole meeting held on March the 4th, 2025. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Dawson, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. We don't have any presentations or delegations. Brings us to item 10, correspondence and communication. 10A from Councillor Todd Dowd, the Municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. Read the resolution of support for cell towers and their associated maintenance, and that was received for information. B from Councillor Todd Dodd, Municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. Read the proposed mandate that all new cars and trucks sold in Canada be equipped with a tow hook. That was received for information. Item C from Christine Gallagher, Northern Hospice Care, and read the update on committee and objectives. That was received for information. Item D from Sonia Paco, the Legislative Coordinator for the City of Brampton, the resolution of support, driver training and examination, Auditor's General Report that was received for information. Item E from the District of Temiskaming Social Services Administration Board, read their quarterly report for Q4 that was received for information. Item F from the Northeastern Public Health, read the community merger update that was received for information. Item G from Tara Reynolds, the clerk, Town of Bradford, West Willambury, read the resolution of support, the request for landlord-tenant reforms that was received for information. Item H from Dr. Barry Weller, CM, the professor at Emeritus University of Ottawa, the President, Information Research Board, read the agricultural land and food security that was received for information. And item I from Amberly Spillman, the Deputy Clerk, Lottery Licensing Officer for the Town of Kirkland Lake, read the resolution of support for safer highways that was received for information. So be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores agrees to deal with communication items 10A through I in accordance with the agenda of references. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Whelan. Second by Ian. Discussion? Councillor Ducharme.
If possible, I'd like to see item G come back. And also item I.
And item I. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you. D and HD is, there's a lot of information in that, but I think it's worthy, but there's some information in there and some studies that are a little bit questionable and those kind of things, but I think the intent of the resolution is good, and perhaps we can work on something there, but I would like to bring back some of the issues around that, as well as H as well. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other comments? Seeing none. So we do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? That motion is carried. It takes us to item 11, Committees of Council, Community and Regional. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes from the New Lister Business Improvement Area Board of Management meeting held on February the 10th, 2025. B, the minutes from the District of Temiskaming Social Services Administration Board meeting held on January the 22nd, 2025. C, the minutes from the Northeastern Public Health Board of Health meeting held on January the 30th, 2025. And D, the minutes from the Temiskaming Shores Public Library Board meeting held on January the 22nd, 2025. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Dawson, seconded by Councillor Ducharme. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Brings us to item 12, reports by members of council. Does anybody have any reports? Councillor Whelan?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just quickly, update on the Rock on Canada Day event. The event planning is going very well. Talent for the various music stage times are well booked. Other events booked or in the planning include the Great Canadian Lumberjacks and motorcycle stunt riding by Jordan's Oaks and many others. I understand that vendors and suppliers are on target. The Canada Day Parade is well underway, planning for that. If social media holds true, with all the turmoil going on with our Canadian identity right now, it's going to turn out to be quite the event. reading different online messaging groups. They actually have different groups getting together, so they're all coming in one group, large group, to show up at the city. Interest in attending is being shown from Timmins, Montreal, Brooklyn, Uxbridge, Woodbridge, London, Ottawa, Newfoundland, as well as a few inquiries from the U.S. The bikers group has actually gone out to our local surrounding First Nations and invited their seniors as well, and they'll be attending and handing out invitations to the seniors in the various centers. So that's a nice move on their part. The event in the city is being advertised nationally with full-page ads in Canada's premier motorcycle magazine, Motorcycle Mojo, the Toronto Motorcycle Show, and Motorama Car and Antique Show. There are also 30 and 60-second ads on National Rev TV. I've been in contact with the Farmers Market, Temiskaming Pleasure Horse Club, Fall Fair Board, and Temiskaming Power Sports. I have updated them on the dates and needs of the Rock and Canada Day event. They're all in agreement and look forward to working with the event organizers to make it a bigger and better event. Two items that have come up during planning, the possibility of closing May Street from the former Mayleys to the Bingo Hall for parking and pedestrian safety. It's also hoped that the washrooms and shower facilities will be available as in the past bikers reunions. I'll leave those two items for Matt and Mitch to consider and maybe get back to council with a report on those requests. That's it, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Whelan. Any other reports from members of council? Sandy.
Just an update on that. I have a meeting with Barry Phippen on the planning, and I did meet with him and have emailed since back. A couple of the items that you mentioned today were not in the current agreement or had been mentioned in my conversation with him, so I will follow up with him and confirm on that. I have confirmed with him that I am the primary contact for him, and so, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandy. I just wanted to give an update. I did have the privilege of attending the Prospectors and Developers Annual Conference in Toronto, and the event was a huge success. There was over 28,000 attendees for PDAC, which is probably up by about 3,000, I think, from what they had the previous year. We had 112 mining supply and service companies that participated in the Northern Ontario Mining Showcase. And, we've been sold out. We are the largest pavilion at PDAC. And I just want to send out a huge thank you to James Franks, our Economic Development Officer. And, when you do attend such a large event, and you see the relationship that James has built with the FedNor staff, it simply is amazing. And, we have a number of other applications that we send out to FedNor, and I think, it's one thing for an agency to send a check, and FedNor pays, for this event 100%. It adds so much value when they send folks to roll up their sleeves and work shoulder to shoulder, with James and our team. So I want to say thank you, James, for that. I also want to say thank you to Brad Hearn, who does all the technical pieces, and we know how challenging it is here. When you get to that event, having that skill set, I think is something that really plays a huge part in the success of that pavilion. And I also want to thank Sandy Lee for taking time to participate and support the team, at PDAC. The last I want to say is the Northern Ontario night was a huge success. We had about 1,600 people to attend, and they really had an opportunity to experience Northern Ontario food, cocktails, and entertainment. And it really was a great evening. So, James, please send thank you to the team that you put together away from the city. It really is, an event that is paying huge dividends for us. So, thank you. Anybody last comments before we move on? Okay, it takes us to item 13, notice of motions. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 14, new business. So 14A, it's a resolution of support from Peterborough County, U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods. And I do have a resolution in front of me. Whereas Council of the County of Peterborough adopted a resolution regarding U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods at their regular meeting on February the 5th, 2025. And whereas Premier Doug Ford has outlined several plans to combat the impacts that tariffs would have on Ontario, including Fortress AMCAN, which focus on strengthening trade between Ontario and the United States, while bringing good jobs back home for workers on both sides of the border. And whereas the federal government has also outlined several ways to address the current relationship with the U.S., including establishing the Council on Canada-U.S. Relations to support the federal government as it negotiates with the U.S. on tariffs. And whereas trade between Ontario and the United States is very important to our residents and local economies and requires all levels of government to work together in the best interest of those residents. And whereas, according to data from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, across Ontario municipalities are expected to spend between $250 and $290 billion on infrastructure in the next 10 years. And whereas municipalities have traditionally treated all procurements from trade partners equally and fairly, and whereas municipalities can assist in the Team Canada effort to combat tariffs and support businesses in our procurement for capital and infrastructure programs, and whereas there are trade barriers between Canadian provinces, be it resolved, the Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby supports the County of Peterborough in the endorsement of the provincial and federal government's measures in response to the U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods and their request to take any and all measures to protect the interests of Ontario in trade negotiations. And that federal and provincial governments remove any impediments to municipalities preferring Canadian companies and services for capital projects and other supplies. And that the provincial and federal governments take action to remove trade barriers between provinces as a response to U.S. tariffs and support Canadian businesses. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Right Honourable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Melanie Joly, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Vic Fideli, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, the Honourable Nathaniel Erskine-Smith, Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities, the Honourable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Rebecca Bly, the President of FCM, Robin Jones, President of AMO, Bonnie Clark, the Chair, Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, John Beddoes, the Chair, Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus, the Honourable Anthony Rhoda, MP Nipissing-Temiskaming, John Vantoff, MPP Temiskaming Cochrane, and the County of Peterborough. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Dawson. Seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion. Councillor Whelan.
Yeah, just quickly, this is actually a very timely resolution. I have a meeting tomorrow evening with some other provincial agencies from various provinces, I understand, regarding inter-provincial trade. And we also have AMO meetings on Thursday and Friday, and tariffs are going to be a discussion. We're hoping to develop something for municipalities of all sizes that they can, a reference paper so they can pay attention when they're putting out tenders and that. So very timely, so I support it.
So Awesome, thanks, Councillor Whalen. Any other comments? We do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Takes us to item B, resolution of support, City of Toronto, the paid plasma-free zone to reinforce principles of voluntary, non-remunerated blood and plasma donation. I do have a resolution in front of me, whereas Council of the City of Toronto adopted a resolution regarding a paid plasma-free zone to reinforce the principles of voluntary, non-remunerated blood and plasma donation. Be it resolved that Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby supports the City of Toronto in their opposition to the operation of private for-profit blood collection companies and supports only voluntary blood and plasma collection where donors do not receive payment for their blood or plasma. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Honourable Camille Cara, Federal Minister of Health, the Honourable Sylvie Jones, Ontario Minister of Health, the Honourable Anthony Rhoda, MP Nipissing Temiskaming, John Vantoff, MPP Temiskaming Cochrane, Canadian Blood Services, and the City of Toronto. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Graydon, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion? All in favor? And that motion is carried. Brings us to item C, citizen engagement through town hall events. This is a follow-up from the notice of motion that was presented by Councillor Mark Wilson at the February 18th, 2025 regular council meeting. I do have a resolution in front of me, whereas providing opportunities for direct engagement between elected officials and the community is important to maintain open lines of communication with residents. And whereas town hall events are an effective and inclusive platform for fostering dialogue, gathering feedback, and addressing public concerns in a transparent and accessible manner. And whereas the establishment of an informal atmosphere for community members to engage directly with elected officials would provide a platform for the free exchange of ideas and information and receive feedback on community matters and issues that affect residents. And whereas through the establishment of guidelines and procedures for organizing town hall events would ensure they are effective and beneficial to both elected officials and residents. Be it resolved, the Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores directs staff to explore various avenues for organizing town hall events, including identifying potential locations, formats, frequency, and methods for encouraging resident participation, and to develop a policy aimed at facilitating engagement between elected officials and residents. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Dawson, seconded by Councillor Ducharme. Discussion? Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just I talked a little bit about it when I presented the notice of motion, and really initially, I brought this forward as an intention to give residents the opportunity to engage with their elected officials, somewhere between the middle of the term of office. And since then, of course, with all of the political upheaval and the threats to democracy, this seems to take a little bit more important, carries maybe perhaps a little more weight. And I realize we're a small community and we have very little control over what's happening, but I think we can encourage democracy by ensuring that we have opportunities for residents to bring issues forward in a respectful manner and in a public environment. And this was my intention with bringing this motion forward, and in the support of democracy as well. So thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Anybody? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, thank you. I think I support this. I think it's, we should take any opportunity we can to speak with our public. The only thing I want to caution is we ensure that we don't hold these town hall events and say we will have staff get back to you with a report. We have to respect the workload that's already on staff. If it's for sharing ideas, sure, it's a great idea, but we can't come back out of a town hall meeting and have 3 directions to staff for a report, because some of them are quite busy as it is. So that's my only caution, that we police it very well.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Whalen. Councillor Ducharme?
I I agree with you, Councillor Wilson, in that it's quite timely. As we know, south of the border, town halls are currently being really used as a method to increase access to democracy. And I think it's excellent to do it here also. I do also appreciate that we are ensuring that the format is safe for the public, safe for the marginalized groups who may want to, issue their concerns, and also safe for councillors. So appreciate that you're bringing this forward. I do think it's clearly we're looking forward. So thank you, and I will support this.
Awesome, thanks. Any other comments? No, I'll just make a couple. Sorry. Sure, go ahead, Councillor Pelcher-Living.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I also wanted to thank Councillor Wilson for bringing this forward. I definitely appreciated seeing the supporting material, and that AMO is having a strategy, the voter turnout being so low and is definitely concerning. So anything that we can do to try and engage various groups to try and reverse that trend, I think is positive. So thanks.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add a couple of comments, and I'm in total agreement as well, Councillor Wilson. I know Amy, our city manager, prior she was actually working and looking at, how we could, incorporate that. I think as a team, and when I say team, I'm talking about, our leadership team as well as, mayor and council. We have started reaching out and making sure that the community is engaged and participating, whether that be our strategic plan. We're going to have our official plan, coming this year, and I think the more opportunities we are there, to listen and to share, can only help, ensure that we make the right decisions as we move forward. So, just my thoughts. And any last comments? Seeing none, we do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Takes us to item D, amendment to council meeting schedule. I do have a resolution in front of me. Whereas council adopted resolution number 2024-356 at the October 1st, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting, establishing a meeting schedule from January 2025 to July 2025. And whereas Mayor LaFerriere and Councillor Dawson, Whalen and Wilson will not be in attendance for the scheduled May the 6th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting, as they will be attending the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities Conference. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby agrees to reschedule the Tuesday, May 6th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting to Tuesday, April the 29th, 2025 at 3 p.m. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Graydon. Second by Councillor Whalen. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item E, memo number 004-2025-CS, the Canada-United States trade. And I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 004-2025-CS for information purposes. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Ducharme, second by Councillor Wilson. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item F. Memo number 005-2025-CS, the Canada application to the Canada Water Agency's Eco Action funding stream. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 005-2025-CS, the council directs Mayor Laferriere to provide a letter of support to the Temiskaming First Nation in partnership with Organisme de Versant de Temiskaming, the OBVT, in their application to the Canada Water Agency's Eco Action funding stream. And further, that the letter of support include the City of Temiskaming Shores in-kind contributions to the project, such as meeting space for community education, itinerant office space for TFN, and OBVT staff working on the project, and staff time for meetings and events. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Graydon, seconded by Councillor Whalen. Discussion? Just want to make a comment, like this is right in line with our strategic plan when we talked about, protecting Lake Temiskaming and looking at that piece of it. So I think it is a really nice fit. Okay, all in favor? And that motion is carried.
Oh, can I just add a little something, Mayor?
Sorry, sure.
Sorry.
Your camera's off. I can't see you on the screen, but thank you.
Oh, I see. Anyways, it's not a lot, but I was really, really happy to see this project. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and it's very timely, like you said, with our strategic plan. I think it's really looking, to the present and to the future, and it is very engaging, and it seems to be the right partners around the table. I just really wanted to commend the people who were involved in putting this forward. So I think that's, I'm looking forward to the activities of the project. For it to be approved.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Takes us to item G, Administrative Report RS-006-2025, the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. I do have a resolution in front of us. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administrative Report RS-006-2025, and that Council directs staff to complete the Mayor's Monarch Pledge prior to the March 31st, 2025 deadline and submit a minimum of 3 action items to be completed in 2025. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Ducharme. Second by Councillor Dawson. Discussion? Councillor Ducharme?
I just wanted again to commend Alison Morrow for bringing this forward. We talked about town halls and engaging people in democracy, but this is, I think, a really interesting and cool project for the community, so thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Councillor Ducharme. Councillor Wilson?
Just took the words right out of my mouth, so I just want to say it.
Any other comments? Awesome. All in favor?
From Nadia.
Go ahead, Nadia.
I just wanted to note, I was sorry to miss the presentation last weekend. I saw it I looked at it in the package. I'm just wanting to note that this is the second time that this request came to council. This came, I think, in the first spring after the election, and the timing wasn't right, and we couldn't move forward with it. So just a note for people who are maybe listening, or not to get discouraged and to keep coming. And sometimes things will align, and we'll be able to do something with it. So I think it's great to engage with different partners. And so it's another positive project as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Any last comments? We do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Takes us to bylaws. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-021, being a bylaw to enter into a 3-year agreement with Grass King Inc. for asphalt markings and symbol painting services. Bylaw number 2025-022, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Alvin Caldwell Sand and Gravel Limited for the supply and stockpile delivery of granular M. Bylaw number 2025-023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2022-185 to appoint community representatives to various committees and boards for the 2022 to 2026 term of council. Bylaw number 2025-024, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a funding agreement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities under the Green Municipal Fund for the development of a fleet decarbonization plan. Bylaw number 2025-025, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with WSP Canada Inc. for the creation of a green municipal fleet study for the City of Temiskaming Shores. Bylaw number 2025-026, being a bylaw to enter into an operating agreement with Temiskaming Shores Development Corporation for a 5-year term. Bylaw number 2025-027, being a bylaw to enter into a 3-year agreement with Capital Pyrotechnics for the provision of fireworks display services for Canada Day events. Bylaw number 2025-028, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Pedersen Construction 2013 Inc. for the Mount Pleasant Cemetery Embankment Remediation Project. Be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Whalen. Second by Councillor Graydon. Discussion. And I think this is, I had a conversation earlier today with Councillor Peltier-Living. And if you want to go ahead, Councillor Peltier-Living.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It was just a request to consider the bylaw 2025-027 about the fireworks contract separately, so to remove it from the block so we could have a bit more conversation if we could.
Okay. Thank you. And I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby delete bylaw number 2025-027 regarding the agreement with Capital Pyrotechnics for the provision of fireworks services from the consolidated motion to be dealt with separately in accordance with section 46.6 of the city's procedural bylaw number 2023-022. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Wilson, seconded by Councillor Peltier-Living.
Yes.
Discussion. Councillor Living, Peltier-Living, did you want to share? Oh.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'll just...
yeah, and all in favor for just removing that from the consolidated motion? Okay, so that's carried. Okay, so now I have another resolution. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-027, being a bylaw to enter into a 3-year agreement with Capital Pyrotechnics for the provision of fireworks display services for Canada Day events, be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Dawson, seconded by...
I can second it.
Okay, Councillor Whalen, sorry. So discussion. Councillor Peltier-Living, if you want to go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So just because we've been, like, we've had this topic about the fireworks for, over about a year now, like from the last time we considered a 3-year contract, and I just wanted to make sure that the different points that have been brought on, the reason why, like a few reasons why it was defeated when we looked at it, I think it was April of last year. We had some, suggestions about maybe looking into alternatives for like some members of the community who might have like some mental health issues who would be triggered by the sound of the fireworks. We had people who so we had considered that. We'd also discussed, I think at the committee of the whole last time, like maybe the possibility of having the fireworks alternating between sort of the Haileybury, former town of Haileybury area to the former town of New Liskeard, and be in line with our strategic plan that way to try and create more unity, things like that. So before just signing on to a 3-year contract, I just wanted to make sure that we had looked into some of those suggestions and that they were given due consideration before carrying on, like for making this commitment for the next 3 years. I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear, Councillor Peltier-Living, and I think James is here, and I know James has done some work from some of those discussions. So James, maybe if you want to just share a little bit of how we got to where we are.
All right, I'll have to stand here. So, yes, and I apologize that the report doesn't touch on some of those items. Since we had those discussions last year, we did do research last year on a couple of those topics. We did look at the Haileybury site, and when we met with the fireworks companies, we did have that discussion with them. And many of them said it is difficult but possible to do fireworks in Haileybury. Basically, a fireworks display requires a certain amount of space around where the fireworks are launched from, and it's recommended that that minimum be 1,000 feet. Unfortunately, in Haileybury, there just isn't a space along the waterfront that accommodates 1,000 feet. It could be done, and it has been done in the past. In 2004, for Haileybury Centennial, we were able to utilize the break wall of the former Grant Forest Products mansion. With permission from the fire department, they brought units down to protect the lands around that facility. So it is possible, just considerably more difficult. There may have been some misunderstanding on my part when I heard the release that the Bikers Union was back, and the committee had agreed to support the Bikers Reunion and fireworks. It was my understanding at that point that the intent was to do fireworks with the Bikers Reunion. That actually assists us to get bids in the fact that the fireworks display is not always on July 1st. Companies are extremely busy on July 1st. They're doing shows all across Ontario. And the fact that we had stated that it would be during the Bikers Reunion event, which isn't necessarily always on July 1st, we got more companies to apply. And I hope that we got a better price. Whether we did or not, I can't prove that. But that's those two items. We also did look at doing different types of shows. So we reached out to some other communities that have done drone displays instead of fireworks displays. And in most cases, I don't want to say every case, in many cases, those communities suggested that they had tried drone shows, but had gone back to fireworks displays later due to comments from the public. In fact, I just saw on the news recently that Timmins has recently, they did a drone show in 2024, and for 2025 they're going back to a fireworks display. So we did look at those things, but at the end of the day, we heard the announcement from council that we were supporting the Bikers Reunion and with fireworks, and so that's where the program came from.
Okay, thanks, James. I think that clarifies things, a fair bit. And there was comments that were made by council, as well as some of the member requests from members of our community. So they didn't go on deaf ears. They were followed up, and I think it's important that we do share that with everyone and be transparent. And I think the other thing was the 3-year agreement, James, versus, just looking at it for 2025. And I think we did have some conversations around why that 3-year agreement was being recommended.
Yes, a 3-year agreement's recommended because these companies generally are, as I mentioned, extremely busy on Canada Day. It's the one day of the year fireworks companies get work. So they don't like to bid on 1-year contracts because it likely means they're not bidding on a 3-year contract to try and bid on this 1-year contract, even though our contract may be better that year than the 3-year one they're bidding on. So it impacts cost and potentially the number of companies that might even bid on our contract. So it was recommended that a 3-year contract be struck.
Okay, thanks, James, appreciate it. Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, just James made me think we had a company make a presentation to council quite a few years ago about moving a fireworks display back and forth. And they were going to try with a barge one time. But the reason we have so many sailboats down the Hellebury Marina versus the Lisker Marina is because of the shape of the lake. They can catch wind down here. They can't in the Wabi Bay. So it's a lot calmer. So, if it's weather dependent, it's a lot safer to be further up the lake.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Whelan. Any other comments?
I'd like to make another comment, please.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, James. That helps to clarify a lot of the points. I'm just, I haven't done extensive research, so I'm not too sure. I know that one of the points that have been brought to me, so I've had a number of people approach me and they were actually, not going to say grateful, but they were pleased that we were not going to pursue fireworks, even though I know that a lot of people like them. There's also people who, would prefer we didn't. And so in terms of the 3-year contract, I guess my question is, we're enterprising, some initiatives for the health of our lake. And I know that one of the points was pollution. I don't know, if once a year fireworks, if it makes a big difference. Like I said, I haven't done the research, but what if it becomes it's not good practice and we're set up for a 3-year contract?
No, that's a great point, and we will work with the folks doing the study. If that becomes an issue, we will figure out another location that we would be able to do fireworks. And as I mentioned earlier about the
I'm confident Rocket on Canada Day will be successful, but let's say they said, you know what, this was a great way to go out with a bang, we're good now. We could have these discussions about Haileybury or New Liskeard or all those things in year 2 and 3 if we wanted to. These two things are separate, correct? In some ways?
Correct. And in the RFP, the companies were advised that this year for sure it would be during the Rocket on Canada Day event, and it is anticipated that it would be during Rocket on Canada Day event for the additional 2 years, but it's not guaranteed that it would be on that date. It could be July 1st if we chose to do something else.
Councillor Graydon?
Thank you. Just further to that, is the same true of the location? Could it change, or is the 3-year contract contingent on New Liskeard versus Haileybury?
No, we could choose to change locations.
Perfect. Any last comments? Okay, awesome. It's nice and clear. We do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Okay, so I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-021, being a bylaw to enter into a 3-year agreement with Grass King Inc. for asphalt markings and symbol painting services Bylaw number 2025-022, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Alvin Caldwell Sand and Gravel Limited for the supply and stockpile delivery of granular M. Bylaw number 2025-023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2022-185 to appoint community representatives to various committees and boards for the 2022 to 2026 term of council. Bylaw number 2025-024, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a funding agreement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities under the Green Municipal Fund for the development of a fleet decarbonization plan. Bylaw number 2025-025, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with WSP Canada Inc. for the creation of a green municipal fleet study for the City of Temiskaming Shores. Bylaw number 2025-026, being a bylaw to enter into an operating agreement with the Temiskaming Shores Development Corporation for a 5-year term. Bylaw number 2025-028, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Pedersen Construction 2013 Inc. for the Mount Pleasant Cemetery Embankment Remediation Project, be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Graydon, seconded by Councillor Wayland. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item 16, schedule of council meetings. 16A, we have a committee of the whole meeting scheduled for April the 1st, 2025, starting at 3 p.m. And B, a regular council meeting scheduled for April the 15th, 2025, starting at 6 p.m. Takes us to item 17, question and answer period. Does anybody have any questions for council? Seeing none, takes us to item 18, closed session. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that council agrees to convene in closed session at, I'll say 7:20 p.m. to discuss the following matters. A, the adoption of the February 18th, 2025 closed session minutes. B, under section 239 2B of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matter. Read the cemetery, it's a cemetery matter. And C, under section 239 2B of the Municipal Act 2001, a personal matter, and it's an HR update. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Dawson, seconded by Councillor Ducharme. Discussion? All in favor? And we are going into closed session. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight.